In this video, I interview my coaching student Josh on how he's making over $20,000 profit part-time selling name brand products on Amazon while being in the military. We're going to walk through how he got started, how he finds products, managing time, selling, and actually scaling his business part-time, and everything you need to know to build a profitable Amazon side hustle or business in 2024. Let's get right into the video. What's going on, Josh? Good to have you on the channel here, man.
Hey man, what's going on?
Yeah, so I've been seeing you've been doing some good work. I've been seeing those beautiful updates on Twitter. It's a shame we didn't get to hang out when I was in
Yeah,
PA this last week. There we go. Yeah, let's see.
no,
Get it focused a little
let's
bit
get it
there.
focused
See,
up right
boom.
there.
So
Yeah,
Josh did about 92K for May, and that's part time and such. So the profit on that's somewhere between 15 and 20, right?
yeah. I banged out 20 according to Inventory Labs.
Sweet, cool, and that's part time, which is pretty extraordinary, right? And you got started and such like 8 months ago, right, or so, September.
Last October was my first full month.
Boom, there we go, and such. And it's a pretty unique story because you're doing this part time, right? You just finished college as well. You've been in college when you started, so you kind of had every reason to not start a business and such. But what really kind of made you want to get into it and start selling on Amazon?
Honestly, it's just like it was the people I surrounded myself with. Obviously, I went to college with a couple other sellers that we know, Max Cat, Pat Basile,
Oh yeah,
and they just put you on game after that, right? After I saw Max do 100K in August, I was like, all right, let me know what's going on. And I was actually away for the military, and I was like, step one when I get right back is like I'm like going right into Amazon, and that's what I did. Like whole month of September spent setting up, the LLC, getting the Amazon storefront up, and I was just like, I need to be in the room with people that want to win.
yeah. And the cool thing was you started at a really good time right before the fourth quarter, and people watching this right now, they're starting at a really good point right before back to school as well. So can you kind of describe what it was like getting going, getting those first couple of sales, and then being thrown right into Q4?
Right? Yeah. So like the whole point of like starting right before it's like October is still a really good month to sell, but starting everything in September is it gave me time to practice sourcing, and then also start outreach and get on social media and start networking and kind of building right the relationships that I have with people because it led into a very like it when going into Q4, the more relationships you have, the better that you're going to be. You're bouncing like you don't have time during Q4 and when you're pumping sales to stop and research and do everything. You just want to ask a question to the boys and like get an answer because it's time equals money in that sense.
Yeah, and so your first couple sales, man. So was it mainly online arbitrage, mainly retail arbitrage, and then we'll dig into what the operation looks like today.
So my first sale was actually a lead from one of the boys. And I that's what I did, and then got some order canceled after that, and then we went right into retail arbitrage. We went right around going ahead and like scanning in stores using Seller Amp to just scan the outlet stores, scan stores like TJ Maxx, going into stores like Ollie's, going into stores like Gabe's, scanning around and seeing what's out there. What can we sell on Amazon essentially?
Yeah, and the cool thing too is the very convenient part of retail arbitrage is it's brain dead simple, right? Online arbitrage, there's fancy coupon codes, discount codes, order cancels, all different types of complicated stuff like that, which is doable. It's just harder to get into as a beginner. Retail arbitrage, man, you go to the store, you scan everything, you see what's good. It's a lot more simple and
Exactly.
such. And that gives you a lot of reps really quick as well. And thinking very tactically, when you do online arbitrage, which you should definitely do both when you're a beginner, right? You have to wait for the product to actually get to you. Meanwhile, with retail arbitrage, you're getting that thing in hand same day, potentially getting it listed, merchant fulfilled same day. And that's very, very convenient and such. And I'm sure I actually know for a fact merchant fulfilled is a big, important part of the journey as well. So obviously, right now you're living large with the prep center setup and such. But talk about
Yeah.
FBM, getting your hands dirty a little bit, specifically during Q4, building that initial momentum.
So definitely want to FBM, and that's like the safest way I would say to essentially start and kind of learn the trials and errors that come with Amazon because you're in charge of the product and you don't have to worry about shipping it FBA. You don't have to worry about like how to poly bag and how to put FN SKUs on and do that. Like you all you have to do is just make sure the item is sellable, put it in a poly bag, and then ship it out. So it's definitely like a really good an easy way to get really comfortable with selling on Amazon and then taking that next step.
Yeah, and the clutch part about FBM too is your cash flow cycle is better. You test a lot lighter because you don't have to, get a whole box full to ship off to Amazon of even just, multiple different products and such, which is very, very convenient. What was the point where you were really like, holy crap, like this works really well? Was it like a specific item that hit really well or one specific day in December? Or what was that big inflection point?
Honestly, it was essentially so after I signed up, coaching with you, Miles, getting the network together, and then basically just leveraging everything that the course had to offer, and like doing 25K my first full month. That's when it was just like this stuff is awesome, right? Like, and we're not like putting that much of our personal capital into it, right? We put a little bit of money into the business to jumpstart it, but we're leveraging tactics like using business credit cards, funneling money through the LLC. So that's when it's just like you're really making money without using any of your own money. And
Sure.
that's what just like, that's what sparked it in my head. Just like, this is like the next step.
Yeah, and that's the really tough part for beginners though, is they don't have that feedback loop of having people, that they know that do this in person. You're obviously super lucky, having the different people in college that do Amazon that, other people have seen on the channel, they might follow online and such, which is super, super advantageous. But you take full advantage of it though. Now you're really active on social media as well and such too. And so something that's really hard to conceptualize for people that haven't, put themselves out there and such is like, what are the actual like benefits? Like, what does it actually look like to be well connected? Can you kind of break that down in terms of what that looks like in terms of like getting questions answered faster and getting plugged into different opportunities and, different stuff that goes along with that?
Yeah, essentially, especially moving into like high volume months, like going into back to school, and right after back to school is Q4. If you're a new seller, having those connections, you don't want to have to be researching like answers to your questions all the time because maybe you have some sort of violation on your account that is prohibiting you from selling your best ASIN. How do you get around that, right? You want to leverage people in your circle in order to gain their knowledge, is because nothing that happens to you only ever happened to you. It's going to happen to every seller. So that's how we leverage our network is like, let's say, XYZ happened. I can ask, Max, or I can ask Peter, I can ask one of the other guys in the Discord, like, what's going on? Like, what do I do? But also then it comes down to like just grinding it out with the boys. Like, just because you get more eyes on every site when, especially when you're sourcing, on when you're sitting in a Zoom call and you guys are just
Really
going
fun
through
too.
every website, and it's amazing. You just drop an ASIN and everyone buys clear stock, and then you limit how many people are going to be on those listings when you really just do it with the boys.
Yeah, and such. And it's just very tough to see that until you actually go through the process of it. But there's a reason that everyone who comes on these videos, everyone who comes on the Buy Box Bandits podcast, always references it and such. So, what does your setup look like today? Because I was obviously visiting Max's Prep Center yesterday. We saw your area and such. And I believe you're currently, is it like deployed or you're kind of away in the military right
Um, Yeah, so I'm currently active, serving active duty military. So I'll be transitioning from that back into the reserve aspect in a couple of weeks here. So I'm fully all FBA. Like I'm like FBA, and if I have to FBM, Max sets it up for me. It's super
now?
easy to work with, right? So the setup is just right is time management. Like how are we going to manage our time? Obviously, I can't be sourcing all the time, so I rely on my network, right? So that comes back to building relationships. Like um, throughout the day, maybe I'll get a text like, "Hey, look at this keep up. All right, it moves. Like, what's this cost price? Boom. Like maybe we step out at lunchtime, bring our laptop, and start
Check
firing
the
orders at
market. Yeah.
Starbucks. Like that's kind of what it is. And then like at night, we're putting in that time to really stay on top of everything. And then on the weekends, we're not going out and really um, screwing off. Essentially, what we're doing is we're putting the time in and reinvesting that time into our business, because what's going to set us up later, right? It's going to be time management. It's going to be what we do now is going to have a domino effect of what happens, months to years afterwards.
Yeah, and on the process in the same way, like the network is a big moat in terms of helping you make things easier. You're also, and a lot of people watching this honestly are in a great place where you get student discount or military discount or nursing or educators or first responders. If you have access to any of those discounts, it's not a bad idea to consider leveraging some of those in terms of just you've obviously done good work to be able to use it. That can help out in the arbitrage game too, and such as well. If you guys want the same help Josh got, I have something for you. Now's a perfect time to apply for my one-on-one mentorship program with back to school and Q4 fast approaching. If you're interested in working one-on-one directly with me with unparalleled daily one-on-one access to myself with my phone number, as well as 3 group coaching calls a week, a one-on-one live sourcing call with myself, a ton of tips, tricks, and strategies I don't share anywhere else, and you want to be around other sellers who are serious about leveling up their Amazon game, make sure to take a look down below at the link in the description for our coaching program application in terms of some other people we've helped, and if you're actually interested in applying to work with me directly to get ready for the best time of the year with fast approaching, check that out if you're interested. And back to the interview with Josh. So obviously product sourcing tends to be the hardest thing for a lot of beginners. Can you break down like stuff that was really helpful for you outside of just doing basic retail arbitrage with product research when you were just getting going?
So with product research, right, the main thing is getting experience with all the items, whether it's just be sourcing them or like getting eyes on and seeing what people are using. So we're when we're learning, we're watching videos, we're hopping on calls with people and seeing how they source as well. So we're going on YouTube when we first start, looking up how people are sourcing online. We're getting on the roadmap and we're looking at like how what do good keep like charts look like, right? And then we're like learning sales cycles as well. We're monitoring emails to see what's going on and reverse sourcing. I've made a lot of money off reverse sourcing because people are doing the work for you. You're just looking at the ASINs from that point. So
Yep.
it's just a matter of putting in that time, and you will find those leads. It's just how much time do you want to put into it.
Yeah, and eventually starting to see the patterns too, realizing, okay, this seller buys from this website and he has this brand as well. I Googled it with Seller Amp. Now I can see it's on this website as well and such. And that's the kind of thing that you really only start to speak the language after like 3 months or 6 months. And unfortunately, a lot of people just quit too soon and such as a result of just like not having the right blueprint, not having people around them that are in the game and such too. If you could go back to when you were a new seller, Josh, what are some things you would tell yourself that would make your journey easier?
It would definitely be trust the data, trust to keep a chart. Because there's so many times that I've bought items and I've only bought like what I thought was safe. And I looked at the data and saw that it sells, and we didn't go a little bit deeper into it. Like, I think it's essential to realize that in this business, we have to take risks in order to succeed. And sometimes those risks are buying a little bit more, especially when we see that Keepa says, oh, it moves 300 times a month and seller counts low. Maybe we don't buy 10 or 20, maybe we buy 30, 40, 50. And that's one good way to jumpstart your right flowing numbers in. And another thing is like when RAing, make connections with the employees. Like there's tons of times where if you make those connections, they will hook you up, whether that be like, hey, we just got a new shipment in the back, like let's see if there's anything good, or it's just like, hey, like we've seen other Amazon sellers come in here and this is the stuff they usually look at. Maybe it's worth it for you to look over here. Or maybe it's something as simple as like, maybe this week's not a good time to buy. We have an upcoming sale coming next week. Like come in next week during these hours. It's not going to be busy. You can basically have the store to yourself. It's
Yeah.
building relationships, not just with other sellers, but from the people that you're buying it from as well.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that's very underrated too. And it's just basic reciprocity, right? And that like you and I are cool. We attack some opportunity together, right? Same with Max, Pat, Peter, etc. Steven, some of the guys we hang out with back in PA and everything. And we literally just met, just off of weird topic, weird niche corner of the internet talking about selling on Amazon and such and everything. So it's a beautiful thing. What's inspired you to get more active on Twitter lately? Because I've been seeing you firing off, document, sharing games, sharing tips.
Yeah, it's honestly, I think a lot of people think that Amazon takes up a lot of time. And to be completely transparent, it takes up time, but it's doable for everyone. Like it's like being like, a college student, also being in the military and also working, I was still able to, scale 6 figures in my first 3 months of selling. And even like being away from home, like being all FBA, doing all that and still managing a 6 figure, business while being away from home and only doing it the hours that I can, it's doable for everyone. And that's what I'm trying to reach out to the community, especially newer sellers, is just like, you can't give up. You have to devote your time if you want to be able to succeed. And that's essentially it. Don't be afraid to reach out to people to see how they do it. Don't be afraid to reach out to people and ask, like, what should I be doing? I'm only like, I can't get over the 10K mark. What do I have to do differently? Like, let's hop on a call and talk about your Amazon processes. What kind of things are you doing that maybe stopping you from going 10 to 20? What's stopping you from going 50 to 100? Like, let's talk about processes, because essentially you may have some of the right things that you're doing, but maybe we just have to tweak a little bit in order for you to, sell a couple more items and really start that cash flow.
Boom. That's what's up. And then where can people follow you on social media if they got any questions and want to see the journey further?
Yep, I'm active on Instagram, Josh Adams FBA underscore M, and also on Twitter, Josh Adams FBA underscore M.
You check the boy coming out. I saw the couple selfie videos the other day and such. So check out my guy there, and really appreciate you coming on, dropping some game for us, Josh. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Nice to talk to you again, Miles.
Hope this video was helpful, guys. If you have any questions, let us know down below. If you're interested in working with me directly one-on-one, check out the coaching program link down below as well. And I'll see you guys in the next one.